For many people, becoming famous is a dream come true. Some struggle for years to obtain it, while others strike upon it by chance. But what if you were renowned throughout the world without ever realizing it, or being around to enjoy the rewards of your fame? Here are 10 people who only became famous after they died. Who knows, it may happen to you as well. Number 10. Van Gogh. Van Gogh notoriously only sold one painting during his lifetime, the 1888 picture Red Vineyard in Arles. He sold it for 400 francs, which is around $2,000 in today's money. He painted Vineyard around 2 years before killing himself by shooting himself in the chest at the age of 37. He painted the great majority of his best-known works during these last 2 years of his life, including the Night Café and the Starry Night. Today, his unrivaled art has become a legacy, with prices in the millions of dollars. Number 9. Galileo Galilei. To put Galileo in perspective, he was found more than a century later than anybody else. Since the Catholic Church had issued an injunction during his lifetime, his book wasn't permitted to be completely published until 1835. What was the reason for his incarceration? The Earth-centric beliefs of the Catholic Church at the time were contradicted by his construction of a telescope that revealed the Earth circled around the Sun. Nicolaus Copernicus' hypothesis of heliocentricity was supported by him. Galileo was considered a heretic and a questionable figure by the Catholic Church, who eventually condemned him to house detention in 1633 in what is known as the Galileo Affair. In 1638, barely 4 years before his death, he had one of his novels mass-market published. Isaac Newton constructs his own reflective telescope in 1668, continuing Galileo's work. Galileo was dubbed the father of contemporary science by Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking once said that he bears more of the blame for the creation of modern science than anybody else. The Catholic Church did not issue a complete apology until Pope Paul John II in 1992. Number 8. Emily Dickinson. While a handful of Emily Dickinson's poems were released during her lifetime, they were highly edited and, in some cases, anonymously released. She was a prolific writer who kept most of her works to herself until her death at the age of 55. Lavinia, her sister, found around 1,800 poems after her death and made it her particular mission to have them published. Several reasons prevented this ambition from being completely achieved in the decades that followed, but from 1890 to 1945, different edited volumes of her poems were published, garnering reviewers' attention. Her completed writings were ultimately published in 1955. Emily Dickinson has been regarded as one of the most prominent poets in American history since her death. Number 7. Gregory Johann Mendel. Gregor Mendel, widely regarded as the father of modern genetics, did not survive to witness his legacy. The breakthrough experiments carried out in his humble monastic garden are still proving to be the basis for current scientific study, as seen by the 2 statutes that have been named in his honor. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1884, his work having been discredited. Seeing how reports of his efforts were uncovered in the 20th century and lauded across the world is very inspiring. Number 6. Nick Drake. Nick Drake was an English singer-songwriter who debuted in 1969 as a student with his first record. He was shy and uncomfortable, and he suffered from despair. Therefore, he seldom performed on stage. Nick Drake died of an overdose in his boyhood bedroom when he was 26 years old, and it may have been the last time anyone heard of him. However, in 1999, his song Pink Moon was included in a Volkswagen advertisement and quickly rose to the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Drake's music was discovered by a new generation of fans, who began downloading his 3 albums. After Drake's death, the record label that had ceased publishing his music released a remix CD, and sales soon surpassed the 4,000 records Drake had sold during his lifetime. Number 5. Henry David Thoreau. Despite the moderate popularity of his book Walden, American novelist, poet, and philosopher Henry David Thoreau's political works had little influence during his lifetime. He supported himself by working in a pencil factory, giving occasional lectures, and writing essays for newspapers and magazines. He never made a lot of money, which suited him just fine. However, about 3 decades after his death, Henry Stephen Salt published a biography of Thoreau, which earned him worldwide acclaim. Many international leaders have been inspired by him, including Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Leo Tolstoy. Number 4. Johann Sebastian Bach. Even those who are unfamiliar with classical music are familiar with Johann Sebastian Bach, one of the best and most acclaimed composers in Western music history. His more than 1,000 compositions before his death in 1750 went mostly unknown at the time, and he was primarily renowned as a gifted organist and organ repair specialist. Artists began going back into Bach's work when composer Felix Mendelssohn resurrected Bach's Saint Matthew Passion in 1829 and gained a fresh respect for his mastery of elements like counterpoint and fugue, two musical notions that are very difficult to accomplish. Number 3. Edgar Allan Poe. This American writer, who remains a powerful and vital pillar in the literary world today, lived a miserable life and died in 1849. After his wife died, he turned to drunkenness since he could hardly afford 2 square meals a day. He is remembered today as an American Romantic movement writer who was also the first to expose the world to detective fiction short tales and is praised for his book concepts, themes, and writing style. Number 2. Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka was born in Prague and raised in a middle-class Jewish household before studying law and working in insurance. Despite the fact that he wrote prolifically in the nights, just a few of his works were published throughout his lifetime. He relocated to Berlin in 1923 to concentrate on writing, but he died of TB soon after, never realizing the enormous influence his work would have on future generations of authors and researchers. He asked his friend and literary executor, Max Brod, to delete any unpublished writings before his death. Brod ignored this request, publishing The Trial in 1925, and the rest is history. Kafka's name has become an adjective, making him one of the most well-known writers of the late 19th and early 20th century. Number 1. Stieg Larsson. The Millennium series of novels, the first of which was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, was written by Stieg Larsson. The series has sold over 100 million copies, placing it among the best-selling books of all time. In 2011, the novel series was adapted into a film that grossed approximately $233 million worldwide and prompted a sequel. Larsen, on the other hand, had none of this success. After submitting the manuscripts and before the first book was released, he died of a heart attack in 2004 at the age of 50. Can you think of anyone else who only got renowned after their death? Do let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this one. I'll see you next time.